Well, Chief, as you can see from all indications, the stabbing took place approximately right here.
Is this the only place you found any blood?
Yeah, I figured he probably stumbled to the telephone before he collapsed because it was off the hook when I arrived.
And this is the light switch. But we don't know that he intended to activate the light in the sound system.
He probably did it to signal for help.
All right, so we know how, when, and where. Now I want to know who and why.
Well, my guess is that Elliot knew his attacker.
What makes you think that?
Well, there's nothing to indicate the robbery was the motive.
Yeah, the register was still full of money.
Yeah, but a surprised robber doesn't always finish what he started.
Yeah, but the murder took place after the club was already closed. So either Elliot let the person in, or he had a key.
Yeah, but it's possible that whoever killed him entered during business hours, hid in the restroom until the place cleared out, then made his move. Just how big is Dorn's enemy list anyway, do you know?
Well, he's no threat to be the sweetheart of Monticello, but offhand, I really can't think of anybody who disliked him enough to want to see him dead.
Now, we got in touch with Charlie Harmon, his bartender, so we can talk to him and find out about Elliot's known associates.
All right, fine. Anybody needs me, I'm going back to headquarters. The Dorn autopsy ought to be finished by now.
Okay, you know, if Harmon did help Elliot close up, he was probably the last person to see him alive.
Well, it's a pretty safe bet that if he wasn't, I was. Keep me posted.
What do you mean by that?
Jamie, will you shut up and go back to sleep? God, I can't believe this. I slept in this closet. Always thinking of yourself, aren't you? No consideration for your mother. Oh, God, did I have an awful night. You don't care, do you? Go on, play with your toys. I gotta get dressed and get out of here. Oh. Today is the last day of court, Jamie, and Mommy wants to look especially nice when they tell her that she gets you forever and everything. Oh, God. I can't put on this makeup like this. I'm gonna look like a clown. All right, Raven. Calm down. Everything is all right. It's going to be just fine. There's some music.
And that's how the presidential candidates plan to be spending this day. Turning to the local scene, Coriander Street on Monticello's east side was the site of a brutal murder during the night. The crime took place in the Unicorn Discotheque, a popular gathering place for the city's young people. Police surmise that sometime between the hours of 1 and 2 a.m., well after closing time, the night spot's proprietor, Elliot Dorn, fell victim to a knife-wielding assassin and was stabbed in the back fatally. Police on the scene report that no arrests have been made, but are confident that their investigation will result in the speedy apprehension of Dorn's killer. Since arriving in Monticello some 2 years ago, Elliot Dorn led what an associate described as a checkered career. a fact that police are taking into consideration in their
Logan, would you
investigation.
mind if I turn this off? I've heard quite enough.
Of course, it's quite a shocking thing to wake up to.
You know, I never really cared very much for Elliot Dorn, but this is dreadful.
Well, you could hardly say I was a member of his fan club, but disliking somebody and hating them enough to commit murder are two different ballgames.
Logan, do you suppose that Raven was still keeping company with Elliot?
I don't know, Geraldine. Raven never kept me up to date on her social calendar.
Nor did she when you were living together as man and wife.
No. My guess would be that they were still seeing each other, that the affair hadn't died out. I wonder if Raven knows about all of this.
My dear, it's all over the news.
Maybe I should give her a call.
Do you really think you could serve any purpose by telling her this news yourself?
No, it's always painful when you lose someone you care about. She just went through that with her mother. Maybe I can help soften the blow.
My dear Logan, sometimes the degree of compassion you show amazes me.
Hello?
Raven, this is Logan.
What do you want?
Well, I just wondered if you'd heard the news this morning or seen a paper.
Yes, I heard about Elliot on the radio. It's horrible.
Yes, it is. The police will catch whoever did it, though, that's for sure.
Right. It must have been one of his clients who had a few too many and then got belligerent.
It's possible.
I know a lot of creeps hang out in that place. I told Elliot he should hire a bouncer, but... What do you want?
Well, I thought the news might have upset you, so I thought I'd call and see how you were feeling.
That would please you very much, wouldn't it?
Listen now, I wouldn't mind you being shaken up about Elliot. After all, you were friends.
Elliot Dorn meant absolutely nothing to me, but of course I'm upset. Who wouldn't be? An acquaintance of mine has been brutally murdered, and it's terrible.
If you'd like a few days off from the trial, I'm sure Judge Lewis would oblige.
Why would I want to do that?
Well, losing Elliot so soon after your mother's death, I thought it might help.
Logan, I know exactly what you're up to, of all the underhanded things to do.
What are you talking about?
You're trying to use Elliot's death to your own advantage.
I'm doing no such thing.
Look, you're hoping that I ask for a delay so some miracle might happen and shift the advantage. Just forget it.
Raven, I have no intention of trying...
Logan, I happen to feel perfectly able to go on with the trial today, so I'll see you in court.
Nancy?
In here.
Hi, good morning. Did you save that piece of peach pie for me? You know, you're right. You told me last night that everything would look brighter this morning. Well, it does.
Kelly, I just heard something rather shocking on the radio, and I think you should know.
Yeah, what's that?
Elliot Dorn is dead.
What?
It happened sometime early this morning at the Unicorn. Apparently somebody attacked him. He was stabbed in the back.
Somebody must have been trying to rob the place. I told you there's a lot of cash and liquor around the place. Dorn was probably trying to be a hero and got himself stabbed for his troubles.
No, it hasn't been made public yet, but I understand that the police don't think that... They've ruled out the possibility of robbery because nothing of value was taken.
I see. Listen, Nancy, I don't know how you feel about this whole thing, but I'm not going to be able to shed too many tears about that guy.
No, I never liked him myself.
Then what are you so upset about?
Well, I'm thinking about you.
Me?
Yes, about what happened last night, the fight you had with him.
Oh, Nancy, I just punched the guy, that's all. And that must have happened hours before he was killed. Oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. You don't think for 1 second that I possibly could have been responsible for his murder?
No, I don't.
Well, when I left the club, the guy was alive and well. He was fine. Bleeding a little bit, maybe, but it was nothing serious. Look, you can ask Jody.
Oh, that's not the question, Kelly. You did go back to the Unicorn last night, right?
Yes, I did, to get my puppets. Only I changed my mind. I didn't set another foot back into that place last night. I didn't, Nancy. I swear I didn't.
Kelly, do you think there's any possibility that the police know about the fight you had?
I don't know. I suppose. They could find out easy enough.
Well, maybe it might be a better idea if they find out from you. Maybe you ought to go down to police headquarters today, this morning, and tell them everything you know.
But I don't know anything,
Kelly,
Nancy.
you worked for him. You and Jody possibly were the last people to see him alive. They're going to question you anyway.
Yeah, you're right. It would look better if I volunteered, wouldn't it?
I think so.
Well, all right. I'll go down to headquarters.
Oh, we will. I'm going with you.
You don't have to do that. I don't need somebody to hold my hand, Nancy.
I am going to... I want to find out. For the paper. I'll call Deborah Saxon and tell her that we're on our way. Why don't you try to eat something?
You don't mind. I know it's a little early, but I need a little something to steady my nerves. It was a terrible thing that happened last night.
You be our guest. Go right ahead, Mr. Harmon.
Hey, look, you're welcome to a belt if you like. I mean, it's on the house.
No, thanks. We're on duty. Just tell us what happened last night.
I had a feeling in my bones something bad was going to happen.
Why, anything in particular happened to give you that feeling?
But it was such a weird night. Strange things were happening.
Like what?
Like Mr. Dorn coming in here and heading straight towards that bar stool and beginning to put a dent in his profits, that's what.
No, was it unusual for Mr. Dorn to drink during business hours?
Are you kidding? If he had to pay for all the booze he put away, he'd be his own best customer. But usually he spent a little time in his office, taking care of bills and stuff before raising a few. But last night, I thought he was trying to break some sort of record.
Did he give you a reason why he was drinking?
Well, he was pretty upset from the opening bell, but, he was kind of a moody guy, so I didn't pay any attention. Wait a minute, I think he mentioned something about having woman trouble, but who doesn't, right?
Was, Mr. Dorn, in your opinion, anyway, was he drunk?
He was really oiled.
All right, while he was in this state, did he come in contact with any customers to have any arguments with them?
No, that wasn't Mr. Dorn's style. Besides, by the time the place filled up, he was gone.
Gone? What do you mean, passed out?
No, I mean gone, out the door. 9:30, 10 at the outside. He just split.
Do you know where he went?
I couldn't even guess. But he came back around midnight, and that's when the real fireworks started.
Yeah? Why don't you tell us about that, Charlie?
Well, you see, Elliot, he had this eye for the ladies, The prettier and the younger, the better.
Mr. Harmon, will you just stick to the story, please?
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, he made a pass at one of our waitresses, this nice kid by the name of Jody Travis. And I gather it wasn't the first time he put the make on her.
I see. So Jody objected, and there was a scene. Is that what happened?
Oh, no, nothing so tame. We have this puppeteer that works here by the name of Kelly McGrath. And I think he's kind of sweet on Jody. Well, anyway, he caught Mr. Dorn hitting upon that babe, and he decided to defend her honor.
Oh, and how did he do that?
Well, I was down in the wine cellar, and I heard all this hollering. And I came up in time just to see him plant a solid right to Dorn's chin, and, man, he went down like a ton of bricks.
So it was a one-punch fight, is that
Well,
right?
it should have been, I'll tell you that, because this kid, though, he had blood in his eyes. And he went after him while he was down and took all I could to pull them apart.
Is that how the fight ended?
Well, Mr. Dorn was really sore. And he fired both of those kids right on the spot. Well, they left together, and that was that.
I think we should talk to Kelly McGrath.
Hey, speak of the devil.
Hey, what are you doing here, Nancy?
I called headquarters. They said that you and Calvin were here. This is my nephew, Kelly McGrath. Kelly, this is Detective Saxon, Detective Stoner.
Hi. How do you do? Charlie tells us that you and Mr. Dorn had something of a difference of opinion last night, Mr. McGrath.
Yeah, well, that's why I came over here. To tell you my side of the story.
Yeah, well, we'd certainly be glad to hear it.
Well, they asked me what happened last night, kid, so I told them. I mean, I hope I didn't get you any trouble. I just told them the truth.
Yeah, I'm sure you did, Charlie.
Hey, Kelly's a real good kid. I want you all to know that.
Mr. Harmon, will you excuse us, please?
Yeah, sure. Excuse me, ma'am.
Kelly, I understand that you and Mr. Dorn got into a fight last night.
Yeah, we sure did. But I'm not going to apologize for it. He deserved what he got, treating Jody like that. And I'd do the same thing over again
You
if I...
should really just answer the questions.
What is it you want to know?
Sit down, Kelly. Now, after you and Jody were fired, where did you go?
I took Jody home, back to the Kavanaughs.
And where did you go?
Home.
Did you come back here at any time during the night?
Well, yes and no.
Yes and no. What does that mean?
Yes, I came back here, but no, I didn't come back inside.
Why did you come back?
To get my puppets. Well, Dorn was so angry that I was afraid that he'd lose his cool or something and tear the puppets apart.
But you changed your mind?
Yeah, as soon as I got to the door, I thought it would be better if I didn't come back inside in case there was any personal property missing other than my own. Mr. Dorn was angry enough that he could have caused me a lot of trouble, so I turned around and left.
Well, how did you plan on getting in at that time? I mean, the club was closed.
Yeah, well, I still got my key to the Unicorn right here.
I'll take that, Mr. McGrath, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. Listen, can I go back and get my puppets now?
No, we'd like to ask you a couple more questions.
You know, look, I had a dozen of them here, and I put a lot of time and energy into them. I want to see if they're all right.
Hey, if you folks will excuse me, if you want me for anything, I'll be home, okay?
That'll be all right.
Charlie, wait a minute. Are my puppets still here?
Well, at the same place you left me. Want me to get them for you?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It'll be all right, wouldn't it?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks, Charlie.
You're welcome, kid.
Miles, I want to thank you once again for coming down to perform this autopsy.
It's all right. When the chief himself calls, says it's important, who am I to object?
Is there any medical jargon in here you're going to have to decipher
No.
for me?
Cause of death is clear-cut. No pun intended.
Then the knife was it.
Yes. The wound was fatal, although death wasn't instantaneous. I'd say from the size of the wound, the amount of blood lost, it probably was a few minutes before he died.
Well, then that would lend some credence to Saxton's theory that Dorn made it to the switch and turned on the lights himself.
Yeah, that's possible.
You knew Dorn pretty well, didn't you?
Well enough to know I didn't like him.
You got any thoughts on who might have disliked him enough to want to stick a knife in his back?
No, I don't think many people are going to mourn his passing, but I can't think of anybody who'd want to see him dead.
Because, you know, some signs make us believe that Dorn knew the identity of his attacker.
There was an altercation at the Unicorn a couple of hours before he died. You know about that?
No. It's the first time hearing about it. Come on, give.
No, it's not important. I don't really know about it firsthand. I'm sure your people will come up with the details.
Well, if they don't, I'm going to ask you to make a statement.
Yeah, sure.
I got back the report on the murder weapon. It was an ordinary filleting knife with a plastic handle.
The kind you can buy in any houseware store?
Yeah. It was absolutely clean, not a print on it.
So it told you nothing?
Well, on the contrary, it told us that our killer was quite aware of what he was doing, either wore a glove or wiped it clean afterwards. My guess is wore a glove.
Well, what is your feeling about this? You think you're going to solve the case?
We'll crack this case all right. I think we'll have the killer within a day or two.
Well, all right, I've got to leave.
Miles, wait a second. Are you sure you don't want to tell me something more about this altercation?
Oh, listen, I'm sorry I brought it up.
Why? Does it involve somebody you know?
I guess I better be honest with you before you start theorizing. It's somebody that worked with Elliot.
Nicole's sister. What's her name, Jody?
No. Well, yes, she was involved, and the fight was over her. Apparently, Elliot was playing Casanova last night.
He was after Jody?
Yes, he was, hot and heavy. And Jody's friend, Kelly, came to her defense.
Kelly. Puppeteer, is that him?
Right. Yeah, Nancy Carr's nephew. He works at the Unicorn, too. Well, he worked there, I should say.
Yeah, now nobody works for Dorn.
Well, what I meant to say was that he was unemployed before Elliot was killed last night. Elliot fired both Jody and Kelly.
How'd you find out all this?
Well, he brought Jody back to our place last night. We all sat around and talked about it.
So now we have one angry, disgruntled ex-employee.
Well, now, look, I would not think too many bad thoughts about Kelly. He seems to be a very nice young man to me.
Yeah, they're all nice young men, Miles. Haven't you ever realized that? All the family and friends and neighbors say that he was such a nice guy.
What I'd like to know is where Mr. Dorn went to when he pulled his little disappearing act last night.
You know, the person he went to see might be able to fill in all the blanks for us.
Yeah, the only problem is that person or persons may have split town long before now.
Wasn't it interesting that the chief said that he might have been the last person to see Elliot alive?
Someone to see you, Kelly? I got your little puppet friends here, huh?
Right. Hey, let me see. Let me see if they're all right.
Are they okay?
So far, so good.
Yeah, well, they're where you usually keep them. I don't think they were touched.
No, I don't think Dorn got to them. They look fine.
Yeah, but one thing, kid. I looked and looked, and I only find 11 of your little pals here.
Yeah, so?
Well, I could have sworn you said you had an even dozen. Unless my hearing's going bad on me.
You know, you're right. There are only 11.
Yeah, well, I guess I must have been mistaken or something. I could have sworn that I had 12 in here.